Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter the illusion of a lucky, instinctual soccer volley. Picture this for a second. Zinedine Zidane, 2002 Champions League final. The ball drops from the Glasgow sky, his left foot swings, and history is made. It looks like pure magic, right? Or maybe just raw, unthinking instinct. But actually, no. Today, we're revealing the incredible biological computation happening behind the scenes. We're diving deep into the groundbreaking work presented by Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa, and we'll unpack the hidden language of movement that turns a simple kick into a literal masterpiece of human neuroscience.
So let's kick this off with a fundamental question. Is what you're seeing on the pitch during a massive strike like that just a physical, instinctual reaction? Or is it actually an extreme feat of what we call oculopedal synchronization, which is literally the precise mathematical coordination between your eyes and your feet? Well, as you're going to see, it's absolutely the latter.
Here's our roadmap for unpacking this invisible neural choreography. 1. A masterpiece of biological computation. 2. Predicting the future. 3. The hidden foundation. 4. Executing the perfect strike. 5. From reaction to anticipation. And finally, 6. Decoding movement with Kinexa. Okay, Section 1. A masterpiece of biological computation and the illusion of effortlessness. We usually start with just the naked eyes view, right? When we watch a player execute a perfect volley, we see this incredibly fluid motion. But unlike a controlled touch where a player traps the ball first, there is absolutely zero time to stop, adjust, and then execute. What looks like a simple, effortless leg swing is, in reality, a real-time 3D simulation running straight in the brain. Think of the brain acting like a massive, high-powered video game engine, rendering complex physics and spatial geometry in a fraction of a second. It literally has to predict, position, stabilize, and strike within one single continuous neural sequence. There's no pause button here. And why? Because that ball is often traveling at 60 miles per hour or more. Conscious thought is just way too slow to process a moving object at that speed. It's pure, uninterrupted biological computation, all operating completely under the hood.
Moving to Section 2, Predicting the Future. How the visual system estimates what hasn't even happened yet. Let's peel back the layers to the very first step of this neuromotor loop. How on earth does the brain act as a supercomputer estimating what hasn't happened yet? The crucial thing here is that before contact ever occurs, the visual cortex maps the ball's trajectory, while the cerebellum calculates a metric called time to contact, or TTC. Imagine someone suddenly tossing a set of keys at you. You don't whip out a calculator or consciously think about the laws of gravity, right? Your hand just magically knows exactly where to be to catch them. Well, the cerebellum is doing complex physics, calculating gravity's arc, wind resistance, velocity, spin, instantly, without the athlete consciously doing the math. It takes all those variables and continuously updates the exact expected point of impact before the ball is anywhere near the player's foot.
And this brilliantly illustrates a pretty wild truth. Elite athletes aren't actually reacting to where the ball is right now. Honestly, if they waited to react to where the ball actually is, they'd miss it completely. Human reaction time is just too slow for that. Instead, the occipital cortex analyzes the speed and spin, the cerebellum refines that data, and the brain executes a motor plan for where the ball is going to end up hundreds of milliseconds later. They're quite literally anticipating the future to reduce neural uncertainty. It is the absolute ultimate difference between average human reaction and elite perception.
Section 3. The Hidden Foundation. Dynamic Postural Stabilization. Now, what's really fascinating to me is what the rest of the body is doing while the brain is furiously running all those complex spatial calculations. A volley is definitely not merely a leg action. While the striking leg prepares, the vestibular system, proprioceptive receptors, and the brainstem are making these furious, tiny microadjustments to the trunk and pelvis. Think of the system exactly like the tiny gyroscope inside your smartphone that always knows which way is up and adjusts your screen automatically. Your body has an internal gyroscope that's constantly repositioning your center of mass. And why does this matter to us? Well, because without this invisible core and hip adjustment, all the explosive leg power in the world would just make the player swing wildly and fall right over. Every successful volley is built upon this hidden foundation of balance control, making sure that when the strike finally happens, there is absolutely minimal energy loss.
All right, Section 4, Executing the Perfect Strike. Motor command execution and correction.
So once that predictive mathematical model is locked in with enough confidence and the body's internal gyroscope is perfectly stabilized, the motor cortex finally pulls the trigger and initiates the strike. What happens next is a highly kinetic chain reaction of neuromuscular execution. Just imagine energy being passed like a baton in a relay race. Descending neural pathways activate the quadriceps to violently extend the knee. Then the hip flexors accelerate the limb. The glutes fire to stabilize the pelvis. The core transmits all that built-up force, and finally the ankles lock down to control the exact final trajectory. But remember, the objective here isn't just raw power. Power without precise direction is basically useless in this context. It's all about pure spatiotemporal precision in 3 dimensions, delivering maximum force to a single, hyperspecific moving coordinate. And that target coordinate must be reached at exactly the right moment. We're talking about windows of just tens of milliseconds. To put that into perspective for you, a literal blink of an eye takes about 100 milliseconds. So if a player is off by a mere fraction of a single blink in this kinetic chain, it can completely ruin the outcome of the strike. That tiny delay is the entire difference between a glorious highlight reel goal and sending the ball flying into the 20th row of the stands.
And here's the truly fascinating part. Even after the leg starts swinging, the brain is still working. We rely on something called proprioceptive feedback. Proprioception is basically your body's internal GPS system. It's what lets you confidently touch your nose with your eyes completely closed. As the leg swings through the air, feedback from the muscles and tendons updates the internal models in the cerebellum. It's making continuous, rapid adjustments totally outside of conscious awareness. It's exactly like a guided missile adjusting its path mid-air to hit a moving target. The athlete simply experiences this smooth feeling of fluidity while their nervous system completely subverts what the naked eye sees by performing massive real-time error correction.
Moving to Section 5, from reaction to anticipation, evolving the sensory motor loop.
Let's see how all this biology builds into what sports fans simply call perfect timing. Through thousands of hours of repetition and neuroplastic adaptation, athletes develop incredibly accurate internal models of how a ball behaves. They are literally upgrading their brain's hardware. By fine-tuning their proprioceptive feedback loops and enhancing neural conduction, they dramatically reduce processing delays. So they essentially shift from a frantic, reactive state where you clumsily respond to a present stimulus with inherent biological delays to a calm, intuitive state of pure anticipation. This is predictive motor control approaching its biological optimum. And I think it proves something pretty profound. Absolute genius on the pitch isn't just born. It is systematically built neuron by neuron.
And finally, Section 6, decoding movement with Kinexa, formalizing the neural choreography.
We've talked deeply about the biology, but how do we actually measure this invisible dance? This is the ultimate technological resolution brought forward by Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa. Up until now, coaches and analysts could really only measure the final result, right? Like, did the ball go in the net? How fast was the shot? But Kinexa steps in to quantify the exact gap between the intended motor command generated in the brain, the executed biomechanical movement of the body, and the final outcome. Under Dr. Christophe Delong's specific vision, they use artificial intelligence to measure the unseen biological intent that happened long before the strike, beautifully bridging the raw neural signal and the physical perfection of the gesture. By creating a complete digital representation of the athlete's entire sensory motor loop, Kinexa's AI reveals what our naked eyes simply cannot see. It evaluates anticipation quality, timing accuracy, movement efficiency, postural stability, and neuromuscular coordination. So what does this actually mean for a real-world player? Well, think about this hypothetical. If Kinexa's AI shows a player's postural stability is failing by just 2 degrees right before contact, a coach can now prescribe a highly specific fix for that exact core muscle group, rather than just vaguely telling the player to, kick better or keep their eye on the ball. It literally translates the hidden biological language of movement into actionable data for genuine performance optimization. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Thanks to Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa, we now have the data to measure what was previously totally unmeasurable. But if AI can fully decode our hidden neural choreography, where exactly is the ultimate ceiling of human athletic potential? Could we one day actually engineer the biologically perfect strike? Think about that next time you see a seemingly effortless volley fly right into the top corner.